Hi guys, and welcome to another Tutor's video. And today's video we're going to be talking about how you can get that 7 in your history IA. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is choosing the actual question. So the history IA is a 2,200 word investigation into a topic of your choice. What this means is that you have the opportunity to explore any historical event that you find interesting, even if it's outside the scope of your syllabus. Although it might be smart to choose something that you have studied just because it means you already have that knowledge. It's also important to choose something that you are genuinely interested in to make sure that you're constantly staying engaged with your research. You should really take your time when thinking about what you want to write, but you shouldn't choose a question that's too broad or too narrow. You want to be able to choose a question that's exactly right. A few examples that I've given here include: during the Third Reich, how effective was Hitler's promotion of the family's optimal outcome? The second one is, how did tabloid accounts of Kennedy's assassination differ, as well as how trustworthy were they? And the final one is, how did British World War II soldiers who served in Europe contrast to those who served in the Pacific? Those are just a few examples of good internal assessment questions for your history IA, but feel free to do your own research or choose something that you're more interested in. Now, the actual history IA has 3 different sections. Identification and analysis of sources is your first section. Your second section is the investigation, and the final one is the reflection. For the first section, it expects you to analyze 2 different sources, whether they be primary or secondary. While writing this first section, there's a few things that you should keep in mind and think about. You need to explain the relevance of your sources to your research. What makes the sources that you have chosen important for the work that you're discussing? Do these sources perhaps offer a fresh perspective on the topic of your research? Something that you should also keep in mind is that you have to discuss the values and limitations of the sources that you have chosen. You have to discuss these in relation to their origin, their content, and their purpose. This section of your IA should only really be around 500 words, and it's worth 6 marks out of the total 25 marks that are available for the entire internal assessment. I know what you're thinking. It might not be the highest number of marks, but you do want to give yourself the best possible chance of getting that 7, so you need to try and ace this. The second section is the investigation. Now, this section should be around 1,300 words, and it's worth 15 marks. This is the biggest chunk of your entire internal assessment. This section should basically be structured the same way you would structure any other history IA. So, an introduction, critical analysis of the topic, and a conclusion. For your introduction, you want to give a brief overview of the topic that you're going to be discussing, as well as explaining why the question that you chose is important. For the critical analysis, this is where you show your evidence. So the evidence that you're presenting in your identification and analysis of sources should be brought up and discussed. You should discuss the sources that you have brought up, the ones that you have discussed the values and limitations of. This is also where you should bring up diverse perspectives regarding the topic from different historical schools of thought. If you need it, then you should also present a counter argument for the argument that you are presenting. And the final part of it is the conclusion. This is like in any other paragraph, in any other essay, this is the final paragraph where you sum up your entire argument as well as basically answer your question. And like any other essay, the conclusion should be kept short and you shouldn't present any new arguments for this paragraph at all. After that, you have your reflection. Now, this is the final piece of your assessment, and in this section, you need to reflect on 2 main themes. The first is what you've learned while researching your history IA, and the second is the challenges and limitations that historians face. For reflecting on what you have learned, you may want to discuss the methods that you used while researching the topic itself, which were similar to that of a historian, and discuss their advantages as well as their disadvantages. For the second point, you want to discuss the limitations that historians face. For example, can a historian distort history? There's a saying that says history is written by the victors. This section should be around 400 words and is worth around 4 marks out of the total 25 that are available. And as always, if you have any questions, you can always come to tutor us. We offer a 15-minute free session For new members and to returning members, please don't hesitate to book a session with our incredible tutors. They'll help you with your internal assessment as well as any questions you have for your exams or if you're struggling in any subject. But thank you very much, guys, for watching.